Willkommen zurück zu Super sehr Gurke Buchclub.
Wupp, wupp.
Late Night Edition. ähm, Heute ist Montag und es ist ein bisschen später, wie ihr wisst, vielleicht. Also für die, die das später schauen, natürlich ist es egal, I guess.
Das war.
Aber ein bisschen Delay, ne? Und wir lesen heute weiter Infinity Reaper von Adam Silvera, Best Boy. Heute geht's, ja, letztes Mal, I don't know, hatten sich da Emil und Brighton, ne, die haben sich da, die sind jetzt auseinander, ne?
Äh,
Ne, doch, ne, die,
Nee,
die
die sind
sind
im
alle,
Krankenhaus alle, oder?
ja,
Ja.
die haben sich gesofft. Also Brighton ist aufgewacht oder so und Emil war am
Und der war so,
Heulen.
boah, Emil ist voll schwach. Der heult
Ja,
hier. Und er war so, Emil, halt mal das Maul. Ich habe gesehen, wie unser Vater gestorben ist. Hat das dann ins Detail beschrieben.
ja,
Und Emil basically beschuldigt, obwohl der gar nichts damit zu tun hat. Lol. Theoretisch ist es nicht mal sein Vater, also halt's Maul.
ernsthaft, ey, wow. Aber ich meine, die sind ja Laser Rays of Light oder so, die voll
Die
die
Laser
Brüder.
Rays of Light.
Die Laser Rays, Alter. Ja. Ah, ja. Ich habe ehrlich gesagt grad keinen Plan. Ist schon lange her, muss ich sagen. Ey, das werden wir nicht jede Woche machen. Ich meine, ich weiß jede Woche schon nicht, was abging letztes Mal.
Aber ich glaube, das war ganz akkurat. War irgendwas
Ja.
mit Nest bestimmt, oder? Nee.
Doch,
Doch,
war das letztes Mal?
aber
Also
ganz
Ness war
kurz.
halt, er war in seinem Zimmer, bei seinem
Ja,
Kinderzimmer. Und
das,
da war alles
ja.
so für die News und so eingerichtet, so voll viele Bilder, also wo der Vater drauf ist und so. Und
Ja,
das Bild von seiner Mutter oder wer auch immer ist weg.
yes, und er war ganz schön pissed. Oh, das habe ich in dem Moment gesagt, wo ich geschrieben habe, wo ich gelesen habe, but I'm pissed now, because he completely removed a great physical memory of that night. Also, es war
Ja,
tatsächlich eine sehr akkurate Beschreibung des
unfassbar
Happenings.
akkurat.
Oh mein Gott,
Ja. Warum schreibst du das Buch nicht einfach?
absolut echt so. Ich schreibe den dritten Teil, bevor Adam Silvera das macht.
Ja, einfach easy Speedrun.
Challenge.
Challenge. Okay,
Du, du,
dann
du.
geht's jetzt los, würde ich sagen. Mit Chapter 7, The Journal, Emil. Believe me, I invited Brighton multiple times in the past to open up about Dad's death, and I get that he was trying to protect me. But I never in a million lifetimes would have thought that he would weaponize those graphic details against me. I'm down the hall and back in my own room, face planted into my pillow while Prudencia
Massages.
ja, massages
Wenn
my
deine
shoulder.
Shoulders ein eigenes Handy haben. Einen eigenen Instagram-Account, den man
Hä?
DMen kann.
Ja, stell dir vor, Prudencia, die könnte so Buchstaben auf deinen Schultern so spüren lassen,
Ja.
maybe, I don't know. Schickt so Briefe einfach an dich, an deine Schultern. Massage my shoulder to comfort me. I'm crying really damn hard, eyes stinging, and I wouldn't have thrown down money on having any more tears left. But I've got plenty flowing because I can't get this picture out of my head of Dad crying and crashing into Brighton. I don't know how Brighton wasn't in therapy every week. Even I was in counseling, and I didn't experience everything he went through. That wasn't fair of him, Prudencia says. I didn't put her through everything Brighton told me. She loved my dad too, and doesn't need these visuals. Brighton's been carrying this on his shoulders alone for months, I say as I roll over to my side, and my latest wound aches. I get why he couldn't keep it together. He was wrong to share. Uh, I get why he couldn't keep it together. He was wrong to share it in an outburst when you were least expecting it. I'm not denying that. I keep trying to focus on the good memories of Dad. Like when he rented a car and drove us all to the Poconos, for a surprise family vacation. Or when we marathoned these nature specials about phoenixes in the wild, just the two of us. Just the two. But all I can think about is what must have been going through his head during his final moments. Did he want to apologize to Brighton for spitting blood on his face? Was he happy, even a tiny bit, that if he had to go, he was at least with his only biological son? I'm facing the facts. My parents were only expecting to bring one son home when Brighton was born. But when Dad stepped out of the hospital to get balloons for Ma and discovered me out on a street corner, he brought me back, thinking I was abandoned. He had no idea that I wasn't a newborn, but instead someone who was reborn in a blaze of fire. None of us knew until a few weeks ago when we pieced it together with the Spellwalkers. I know Dad loved me, but if someone put a wand to his head and asked which son he would have wanted with him when he died, it makes sense now more than ever that he would have chosen Brighton. Hey, Iris says as she walks in. Hey, nicht so aggressiv. Iris, Iris says as she walks in with the phone in one of her bandaged hands. How are you healing? Getting there, I say. Movement is one thing, but the Infinity Ender Blade is built to kill phoenixes and prevent them from resurrecting. The first time I was wounded, my powers were still there, but weaker. I have to see what's good with them when the time inevitably comes for me to use them again. How are you doing? Punching through bricks put a strain on my fist, but the salve they put on me should have me demolishing more walls in no time, Iris says. Thanks for getting us out of there, Prudencia says. It was getting close. Iris nods. What's the deal with Brighton? I'm not sure how to answer that in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. Well, you need to talk to your mother. Carolina keeps threatening to hop on a bus from Philadelphia to get back here if one of you don't call her. I'm not telling her about the Reaper's blood, I say. Your family, your business, Iris says. We haven't told your mother we're camped out in Gleamcare, but our plan is to have Eva and Carolina arrive tomorrow afternoon. Wesley will hopefully have figured out our next haven by then. More hiding, I say. Feel free to take your chances back at your apartment. Let me know if the Bloodcasters come knocking on your door again. I first joined the Spellwalkers after Ness posing as Atlas surprised me at home to lure me back to Luna. But thankfully the real Atlas showed up and saved me and Brighton. There's no world where we can ever live there again without freaking out every minute, worrying that the Bloodcasters or anyone else who wants me dead will kill us all in our sleep. More havens it is. Iris dials a number. Ava, babe, is Carolina around? I put Amy on the line. Great. I love you too. It's beautiful that Iris and Eva and all the spellwalkers have been able to pull off love while existing in the heart of this war we're fighting. But I don't know how to factor in romance while trying to survive. Atlas's death doesn't make me any more eager to figure it out, but I'm regretting not exploring that energy with Ness when I had the chance. Maybe it would have been better to have loved, lost, and all that. I take the phone from Iris and talk into it. Ma? My Emilio, what's going on? Why haven't you reached out sooner? I step out into the hallway and walk toward Brighton's room. Sorry, Ma, there's been so much going on, but Brighton and I are together again. That's the only reason I haven't completely lost it. Oh, uh, uh, Eva says, you all won. You stopped Luna, so it's all over now. We won, I say. The greater truth behind that victory is going to break her heart. But I don't think it's over yet. We still have some loose ends to tie up. What do you mean? Don't worry, I'm going to take care of everything. Where's Brighton? I want to talk to him. Through the triangular window of Brighton's door, I see he's staring at the sky. He's resting now. Have you been able to sleep? No, but Wesley's wonderful girlfriend Ruth has already prepared a bed for me. I can try to sleep now that I've heard your voice. It helps so much to know that she's got something good going for her in Philadelphia. Please rest, Ma. Call us in the morning when you're on the way. I will. I love you boys so much. Love you too. Oh.
Aw.
We hang up. I'm going to get Ma the closest to normal life that I can. A life that Brighton better get on board with because I'm over all of this chaos and what it's done to our family. If I can't save him with the power binding potion, then Ma is going to know that I did everything in my power to keep her only biological son alive. It's the least I can do for all the trouble I brought into her life. I return to my room. Prudencia is resting on my bed, and Iris is picking at one of her bandages. Thanks, I say, giving Iris her phone back. Carolina coming down? Iris asks. Yeah, but once she finds out about the Reaper's blood, it's going to set her off. I have to focus on the power binding potion, which you were already doing, she says. No, my focus was split because of the Crowned Dreamer. But now that I held up my end of the deal and stopped Luna, I'm giving my full attention to this potion to save Brighton. Iris doesn't argue. The world thanks you. Well, the whole world isn't thanking any of us, but you get it. What's the plan? Prudencia asks. We haven't been able to figure out what those ingredients in Bautista's journal mean. I bet he and Sarah were close. We just got to finish the job. It's time we straight up ask an alchemist to decode everything for us and fast, so we can save Brighton too. Iris scoffs. Sorry, but you do realize that the majority of senior alchemists in New York saw allegiance, irgendwie so, to Luna, right? Even some of the younger alchemists who didn't agree with her still respected her work. It's
Alliance.
unlikely that Luna... Huh?
Alliance? Maybe?
Ah, no. Allegiance. Also ich habe Alliance gesagt, aber das wird anders geschrieben.
Ich glaube Alliance.
Oder? Ich gucke kurz nach.
Warum wird das so weird? Also ich meine, ich muss es schon mal geschrieben gesehen haben. Ich habe das Buch gelesen, aber.
Allegiance.
Allegiance.
Treue Gefolgschaft.
Ja. Das ist das Problem
Alliance.
mit Englisch. Ich weiß, was die Sachen heißen, aber lol, als ob ich irgendwas anderes kann. Heute musste ich auch schon wieder bei der Arbeit. Hat mich jemand gefragt, so Englisch? Und ich so,
Ja, das ist schon ziemlich
halb eingeschissen, ey. Spaß.
Wenn man wirklich da gefragt wird, ist so,
Ja.
eigentlich kann ich das voll, aber...
Ich kann Englisch sprechen, kein Problem. Ich verstehe das auch super, aber wenn ich da reden muss mit irgendeinem Fremden, niemals.
Nee.
Vor allem nicht, I don't know, ich war so 820.
Es klingt dann auch immer so komisch.
Ja.
It's unlikely that Luna survived that attack, and once word gets out that you had a hand in killing her, they're all going to try and make a name for themselves. And what better way to do than getting us, Prudencia says. I can stop fighting all I want, but that won't stop others from hunting me. And we don't ask an alchemist, I say. Dr. Bao studied alchemy. She might recognize the ingredients. Prudencia considers this for a moment. After everything with Kirk, we have to be careful. Do we trust her? She hasn't sought us out, Ira says. Yet. Dr. Baus wouldn't. She has loved the Spellwalkers her entire life. It's a start, Prudencia says, headed for the door. The journal is in the car. I follow her downstairs, and when we get to Iris's car, she unlocks the trunk with her powers. Wow. Alter, Prudencia ist einfach Car Thief, ey, oder was?
Ja.
Kann einfach bestimmt auch Alarmanlagen alles ausstellen.
Locker.
Easy.
Ich
Schlösser
möchte, dass
knacken
die
ohne
irgendwann
irgendwas.
ich möchte, dass die irgendwann mal so eine Mission haben, wie bei Detroit Become Human, wenn die das Netirium stehlen, also Marcus und die Gang. Nur, dass sie halt alle ihre Powers haben und so richtig krasse Skills nutzen.
Nee, kann das dritte Teil sein, einfach Prudencia Dark Arc oder sowas?
Ja. Alternative Universe. Infinity Prudencia.
I follow... Nee. The journal is inside her backpack, and I'm so damn grateful she didn't leave it behind in Nova when I was busy trying to predict Gravesend. Prudencia hands me the journal, and hope sparks in me, looking at it. Zündet das so an in seinen Händen.
Ja.
Sparks in me, looking at it again. It's cased in dark blue leather, and there's an illustrated fire orb on the cover, gold like the flames Bautista could create. In the elevator back up, I flip through and find the page with the ingredients we couldn't translate. We find Dr. Bau's office, and her door is open. She looks up from her computer. Emil, Prudentia, come in, please.
Moin
Oh,
moin.
we sit on the little yellow sofa she has in her office. Okay, bold, I guess, I don't know. Like so leuchtend gelb.
Ja,
Oder
oder vielleicht ist es auch eher so
so ein
honiggelblich,
beige-gelb.
genau.
Ja, so, ja, so ein
So ein,
sanfter.
so ein, so ein
So ein
richtig slickes,
Nommton.
was so gut aussieht mit so einem dunklen Blau zusammen, weißt du?
Nee, aber bestimmt. Um, and I breathe in the smell of the pink roses beside me. 15th anniversary last week, she says when she sees me eyeing them. There's a picture of Dr. Bauer with her family in Egypt, and another of her in a ball pit with her son. Pff, Dr. Bauer spielt in so Bällpool.
Die hat
Ja,
Alchemie studiert.
peinlich, ey, wow. She should be home with her son and husband, not working overtime to keep us all alive. What can I do for you? I hate to ask, but we need your help, I say. And discretion,
Discretion.
discretion. Prudencia adds, Dr. Bao straightens up. I do my best. I know we can't fully eliminate the essence of creatures once they're introduced into a human's body, but we're hoping that if we can lock away all the powers that come with being a spectre, they stop eating away at Brighton. I tap the cover of the journal. This belonged to Bautista and Sarah Cordova. Dr. Bowes eyes the journal like it's unearthed treasure. I remember all the murmurings about what an impressive alchemist Sarah was. There were even rumors that she and Bautista were romantically involved. I'm not going into Bautista's family tree, especially not where Maribel and I sit on it.
Das ist eine ganz komische Sache, das willst du nirgendwo erwähnen.
Ja.
Nicht wahr, Papa?
Das ist dann. Das ist dann auch kein so Strich wie Baum, das ist einfach so ein Gleichheitszeichen.
Ja.
I don't know anything about it, but their notes are confusing. There are all these ingredients we can translate, Prudencia says. We've looked through textbooks, online searches, nothing comes up. Which ingredients? Dr. Bowes asks. I read them out. Ghost husk, cumulus powder, feather rock, dry tear, burnt berry, crimson root, grim ash, and water from the shaded sea. Do any of these sound familiar? Ich denke mir so, okay, ja, like, die haben so mystische Wesen. Und dann muss es noch so mystische Kräuter und sowas sein, damit es
Oder vielleicht
irgendwas
auch was
dagegen.
anderes.
Ja, ja, aber ich meine, das ist nicht so, keine Ahnung, Oregano.
Das sowieso. Schnittlauch.
Ja. Aber man braucht eigentlich nur so eine richtig gute deutsche Suppe. Dann geht das hier.
Ja. Alter, I wish. Ich hab Hunger.
Ich habe auch Hunger, ich habe nichts zum Naschen gefunden.
Partie.
Also ich hätte was, aber
Vielleicht mache ich mir gleich Nudeln.
ja, ich tapp nur da, ich will mich richtig essen. Das ist wichtig jetzt für den Stream vor allem.
Ja.
Dr. Bowles shakes her head. Not a single one. Could they be archaic names? Archaic?
Code.
Was?
Code.
Code. Prudential asked. Possibly, but I think it's more likely that these names were invented. Over the years, alchemists have worked to define their legacies with groundbreaking works. Even the great devastation Kion Maxime caused by creating specters is historic, Dr. Bao says. I keep a straight face, not owning up to my first life. Rival alchemists since then have wanted to leave their mark on the world, and some began stealing the formulas of others and framing them as their own, by using code names that only the original alchemists will understand. Their work is protected. It sucks that we can't summon Sarah's ghost and ask her to let us in on the secret, but we know good and well that ghosts only speak in howls that make you hopeless and miserable. Not that I need any help in that department. Ich dachte, das wäre jetzt so ein Ding von, boah, like Sarah und Bautista und er ist ja Bautista. I closed the journal, so we are screwed. There's got to be another way, Prudencia says. What, we just throw a bunch of ingredients in a cauldron and luck into the right combo? Planets aren't formed in a day, Dr. Baus says. I know she's using the expression, but unlike planets, this potion isn't going to create itself. Smarter minds with legit resources have tried figuring out how to bind someone's power and come up with nothing. We could spend the rest of our lives experimenting with this formula only to discover Sarah was totally off base. This is. I try taking deep breaths, but I'm losing to my anxiety. This is why I didn't want to get involved in the first place. This is so much bigger than me, and I can't deliver the win. I get up, handing the journal to Prudencia. I'm done. I was never going to be the next Bautista. Sorry. Maybe Brighton was right. Maybe the wrong brother got powers. Wow, das ist jetzt ein Turn of Events.
Absolut.
Dass er jetzt so ist. Okay, ich gebe komplett auf ihn Leben.
Tja. Und wir haben nie wieder von Emil gehört. Der geht jetzt weg und das ist einfach für immer weg.
Ja, Imagine. Ist einfach so, Emil kommt einfach nicht mehr vor. Let's go. Deswegen spreche ich auch Maribel.
Chapter 8. High and Mighty. Alter, das muss ja Brightons Kapitel sein. Brighton. There's too many people in this room, for Star's sake. Emil is reviewing test results with Dr. Bowes, and judging by his face, it's not looking promising. Wesley is leaning by the window and texting his contacts to figure out the next haven. Iris thankfully takes her phone call with Eva out into the hallway. There's been tons of practitioners too, but with everyone coming in and out, I haven't seen Prudencia or Maribel since we arrived a couple of nights ago. One person is grieving her boyfriend, the other isn't. I won't be around when Prudencia regrets shunning me like this. That'll be her future therapist's problem. Another practitioner, Dr. Oshiro, so anime, okay, comes in, but I'm okay with them. Their methods of helping are simpler than the others. When I was a kid, I assumed that all Gleam Care practitioners had healing powers, but Dad explained that if the world had that many willing healers, there would be fewer patients in hospitals. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but Dr. Oshiro's cooling abilities are very helpful at lowering my high temperature. They asked me to take deep breaths, and I brace myself for the freezing touch as they place their tattooed hand on my forehead. It feels like those first moments when I step out into a snowstorm, cursing myself for not wearing some ski mask to protect my face from the cold, but then their touch cools my entire body down in seconds, and it feels like I've been relaxing in a pool all day to escape the summer heat. It's not the kind of power that I would have risked my life for, but it's got its uses. Wow. Danke, dass du appreciatest, dass jeder irgendwie einen Sinn hat im Leben. Dass man nicht krass sein muss, um krass zu sein.
Wasser aus, nicht Laser aus jeder Pore unserem Körper schießen kann.
Ja, die klassischen Laser Rays of Light halt. Ich trinke mal kurz einen Schluck.
Natürlich, sip.
Ah! Okay. I couldn't sleep last night. The side effects from the blood poisoning can be agonizing, but I'm more haunted by how much I hurt Emil yesterday. Apologizing seems pointless. This wasn't like other past situations where all my own rage came before his feelings, like once when he wouldn't turn off this podcast when I was trying to study, so I told him that I was actually trying to succeed in life and not get rejected everywhere like he was with his pathetic grades. Wow.
Got him!
Got him! I knew Emil tried really hard with his schoolwork, but I didn't care in that moment. It took weeks before things felt right between us. This time I would need true immortality to live long enough to make it up to him. Dr. Oshiro and Dr. Bowes leave together and Iris returns before the door can close. Your mom is on, Iris says, handing me the phone. I don't think I'm ready to tell Ma everything. This reminds me of when I was studying for finals, and even with days and days of prepping, I still didn't feel prepared. But it didn't matter whether or not I was ready once the exam was in front of me. I just had to go for it. A lot of people in my situation might ask for privacy, but I've lived so much of my life online that I don't care, especially not when everyone here knows my condition. I take a deep breath and try to sound as strong as possible. Hello? My
Hello.
shining star, Ma says with a crack in her voice. My shining star. I'm so happy you came back, but you can't run away again. I told your brother the same thing, remember? We are each other's responsibility. Tears are trying to break through as every moment feels like I'm inching toward my end. I feel guilty enough that she got hurt because I was pissed at Emil and the spellwalkers when they told me I couldn't go on any more missions, but now, putting her through this, I would rather speak about anything else. Ask her about her favorite memory with Abuelita. The first meal she taught herself to cook. If watching me and Emil grow up together makes her wish she had her own sibling. What she missed the most about Dad. I can't die without being honest. I'm sorry, I won't run away again, I promise. Good, I'm excited to see you and your brother in a couple of hours. Are you well? I've been better, Ma. I came back because I wanted to help beat the bloodcasters. I survived and I held my own, but you should know I'm getting medical attention right now. The parallels between me and Emil both being treated in Gleam Care when we had to break Big Spectre related news to Ma isn't lost on me, except this is all my fault. What happened? Ma asked. Were you burned? Is anything broken? No one hurt me out there. It's been hard living in Emil's shadow, and I decided to take action. My dreams got the best of me. She's quiet for so long that I have to check that that the call hasn't dropped. Got the best of you? How? I drank the Reaper's blood, and now I'm really sick. I wanted those ultimate powers, and Brighton Miguel Ray. How? You're smarter than this. The Hydra blood ruined your father. That made you. What made you think that you were the exception to the rule? So many reasons, Ma. For one, your mother was a Celestial, so I hoped it would better brace me to welcome other powers into my system. Everyone's eyes are on me, and Emil is approaching. He reaches for the phone, and I smack his hand away. I could have saved lives if this had worked. I could have been saved from death forever. Ma is sobbing, and it immediately transports me back to when I called her to give her the news about Dad. I never thought words could hurt someone so much. I can't lose you too, she says. I can't believe I'm losing you because you were selfish. Selfish? Yes, selfish. You are always putting yourself before others, Brighton, and your father and I didn't raise you to be so high and mighty. I'm burning hot. Like, I swallowed a star and I am milliseconds away from exploding. This is why Dad was always the better parent. If I told him I was dying, he wouldn't have been shouting about how little he thinks of me. I throw the phone across the room. Alter, ich hoffe, hat einen Rhino Shield. And and the screen shatters against the wall. Partie.
Ich hoffe, Iris hat einen Rhino Shield, von wem das Handy ist.
Ja. And the screen shatters against the wall. Partie.
Mann, ey,
dieser Stream ist sponsored. Okay, nein.
Nein, sowas wird nie passieren, ne?
Warte, wie heißt die andere Marke? I don't know. Casetify. Emil is staring at me like I'm a Hydra that chewed up a phoenix and spit out its bones. Gute Beschreibung.
Ist bestimmt schon mal passiert.
Ja, Emil wird auf jeden Fall so gucken, lol. Der arme Phoenix. Wesley's jaw has dropped and frozen in place. Iris is staring at her broken phone and probably dreaming up which arm of mine she's going to rip out first so I can't ever destroy her property again. Don't look at me like you know how she was talking to me, I spit out. Emil stares me dead in the eyes. Bright, if you need to swing at someone, I'll be your punching bag, but don't go off on our mother like she spoon-fed you the Reaper's blood and expect me to take your side. You crossed the line, big time. Rush. Okay. He storms out of the room. Iris picks up the phone and examines it before dropping it in the bin. Okay. Achso, ist so ein Wegwerf-Handy, I guess.
Ja,
Literally. That was my last phone. Wesley, do you mind getting some new ones? We're low on funds, Wesley says. Then cash in on a favor. Someone somewhere has to have a connection to a bulk buyer. Iris says on her way out too. You got it. Wesley comes to the foot of my bed like he's about to say something, but he gives me this look of pity before taking off. Oh yeah. Dieses, oh, ich bin so enttäuscht. Du Pisser. Dieses leichte Kopfschütteln und einfach gehen. He's got it so good being born with power, of course. Weil das ja nur gut ist und bestimmt nie Schwierigkeiten in seinem Leben gebracht hat.
Wir sind alle super glücklich.
Deswegen ist er auch bei den Dingern da, weil er weiß, ja, alle Leute, die Powers haben, denen geht's gut.
Ja, wir sind alle, das sind die glücklichsten Menschen.
Ja, es
auf
wurden
dem
bestimmt
Planeten.
nicht lauter Leute umgebracht, weil sie Powers haben. When he was living on the streets, living on the streets. Sounds like a really good life. He used his swift speed for his own selfish means. Ja, weil er nichts anderes konnte, während du die Möglichkeit zu so viel hast. But no one is ever calling him out on it, obviously. But when it comes to me, I'm the bane of my family because no one believes I could be just as good and powerful, if not better and more than any spellwalker in this building. I'm left alone. I squeeze my eyes shut and try to force myself to rest so I don't have to think about how little my own mother and brother think of me. Dafür, dass alle immer so tun, als wäre der so schlau. Deshalb echt nur schulschlau gefühlt.
Ja.
Lebensschlau nicht.
Also fällt sich halt auf so ein Kind.
Ja. So like,
Okay.
Wesley hat das gemacht, um zu überleben, während du ein absolut feines Leben hast. Erstens hättest du nicht zu den Spellwalkern mitgehen müssen. Und zweitens, selbst wenn du dich gezwungen gefühlt hättest, weil Emilia da ist und der dein Bruder ist und ihr die Rays of Light seid und für immer zusammenhaltet, dann warst du da immer noch sicher, bis du dann einfach abgehauen bist, du Pisser. Okay, Entschuldigung. Weiter geht's.
Weiter geht's.
Alter, voll der epic Name, das nächste Kapitel.
Ja. Chapter 9. Oblivion's Edge.
Das könnte schon wieder so ein Kingdom Hearts Spiel sein. Da gibt's Castle Oblivion.
Ich möchte, das soll einfach Obsidian Edge sein, so eine harte Kante.
Ja.
Maribel. I slowly wake up, wondering why I don't feel his shin between my shoulders or his... Okay, was? Und da liegt sie auf dem Bauch und er hat sein Kinn so...
Genau, wie genau. Aber
Okay.
ich kenne mich mit sowas auch nicht so aus.
Or his breath on my neck, cheek.
Ew! Breath on my neck! Ew! Ich würde ja sofort anderes Bett wechseln.
On my cheek, which one? Or his hands locked in mine. Mann, ey, kann die sich überhaupt bewegen, wenn sie schläft?
Ich glaube nicht. Also jetzt schon. Gott
Jetzt
sei
schon.
Dank. Spaß.
I'm not actually in bed with Atlas. Ist auch irgendwer anderes da.
So Luna, die ihr so ins Neck atmet. Ich habe darauf gewartet, dass du aufwachst.
Schon süße Träume gehabt. I'm alone in his car. I begin shaking as I realize it was only a dream.
It was only just
Ich meine, es
a
war kein Traum
dream.
so gesehen, dass er tot ist. Ne?
Ja, gut.
I scream and punch at the wheel. Wow. Aufwachen und so viel Aggression haben, ist, glaube ich, nicht gesund.
Ja, ich glaube auch nicht.
The horn honking a dozen times.
Okay.
So viel zu ja, so viel zu nicht auffallen oder so.
Ja.
Ich muss jetzt zu jedem Satz einen Kommentar machen. Ja.
Ja. Nicht mal ein Satz, das war ja nur einer gefühlt. Okay.
Ich trinke mal kurz aus.
Ja. I mean, wenn wir zu jedem Satz was sagen, dann ist das alles hier legal, was wir machen. Dann ist das Commentary.
Wenn wir zu jedem halben das ist.
Ja.
Wir sollten einfach eigentlich das Buch vorher nehmen und so wie unsere Titel einfach die Wörter random austauschen mit anderen Namen, Bezeichnungen.
Ja, doch.
Also die Namen von den Leuten und I don't know, anstatt dass
Schreib
sie
ein
zu einer
Programm,
Kirche
was jedes
gehen.
Wort halt ein Synonym dafür findet, you know? Und einfach
Also was
ersetzt.
selber was findet und
Genau.
das einfach und dann, wenn wir
Einfach
es
erstes
lesen, ist einfach
Synonym im
random.
Internet. Und auch die Namen werden synonymiert.
Ja, auch
Wesley,
so einfach,
Hans.
einfach und sowas.
Obwohl eigentlich einfach alles in Google Translate packen und vorlesen.
Also Deutsch dann.
Ja.
Easy.
Existiert erstens nicht und zweitens würde das kein Übersetzer so übersetzen wie Google Translate.
So schlecht.
Das heißt, selbst wenn das auf Deutsch rauskommt, immer noch legal.
Das ist immer noch ein anderes Buch.
Ja.
Sollen wir es aber beim dritten Teil machen?
Einfach Special Edition, letzte Folge zu dem Buch hier, komplett übersetzt.
Achso, okay, das können wir auch machen. Nicht das ganze Buch.
Kannst du auf deinem Handy die Sachen kopieren und irgendwo einfügen? Wahrscheinlich nicht.
Ich hab's ja am PC.
Achso, kannst du es da machen?
Ja, ist einfach Text.
I don't know, bei Wattpad kannst du auch nicht kopieren, wenn das eingestellt ist.
Ich kann ja alles kopieren.
Und
Ich kann
einfügen.
sogar Wörter mit Farben markieren.
Epic.
Ja, einfügen, dafür ist es nicht gemacht. Dann müsste ich ein Buch committen. Dann
Nein, ich meine irgendwo anders einfügen.
ja, ich meine, ja.
Okay.
Wenn es kopiert ist, kann ich einfach in Google-Übersetzer reinschieben, gut ist.
Epic.
Dann schicke ich dir das, oder?
Epic.
Okay. Weiter geht's. Also wenn ihr gespannt seid, lasst ein Like da und subscribe da für die letzte Folge auf Wack Deutsch. I don't know how long I was asleep. Minutes, I'm guessing. Das ist ja gar nichts.
Ja.
When I parked the car outside of the Aldebaran Center, reclined the seat, and used my powerproof vest as a pillow, I doubted that I would get any rest. But it seems my body will only take my revenge into account for so long before it shuts down. I wipe my eyes dry and go inside the hospital. Immediately, I see Prudencia, Wesley, and Iris being escorted into a faculty cafeteria. Heute sind aber die Gase los, ey. Es fliegt bestimmt am grünen Tee. Great. I won't have to deal with any of them when I get upstairs to check on Brighton. I ride the elevator and go to the room everyone crowded last night before I thought air on the sky deck, and I let myself in. Brighton is watching TV on this card that someone must have brought in for him. Good timing. We made the news, he says. I stand by him and watch. Senator Irons' pick for Vice President General Bishop is on site at the Alpha Church of New Life. His tie is loose and his sleeves are rolled up, revealing the dark green arrow tattoos on his pale skin. Oh, das klingt irgendwie nicht schön so. Okay, tätowieren eine Sache, aber dann so ein dunkelgrün?
Ja gut, das ist bestimmt so voll wichtig.
Ja, hat bestimmt ein Meaning. Oder?
Ja,
ich meine, es ist wie schwarz, aber es ist nicht schwarz.
Ja. Das ist bestimmt irgendwie so Poison, Alchemy.
Absolut.
So.
Ich hoffe, das glitzert. Das wäre so ein einziger Grund, wo ich sagen würde, ja.
Jo. So holographisch.
Ja, absolut. Es kommt so raus.
3D.
He keeps trying to remind me, the public... He keeps trying to remind the public that he is one of them, that he's gotten his hands dirty. People overlook that General Bishop was never working class. His family lived luxuriously from all the riches his grandfather made by creating the bombs. Am I surprised we're here again? General Bishop says to all the reporters, of course not. These Gleben gangs only care about winning their war, not the well-being of your neighbors, your homes. These young acolytes, all aspiring to become specters, were slaughtered in this church last night. Let that sentence sit with you. Is no life, is no place sacred to these spellwalkers? His expression is furious, leaning into the tough guy persona their supporters are cheering on. It may not have been your child killed last night, But what's to stop them from being seduced by power and ending up dead? Brighton looks down. I turn off the TV. If there's a bright side to all of this, Brighton says, I probably won't be alive to see Iron and Bishop win this election. He's right. Senator Iron and General Bishop will most likely take the White House. If they are going to do everything in their power to take away ours, I'm going to make sure I don't go down alone. Ist Obama hier eigentlich?
Ich glaube leider nicht.
Sad. Ich würde Obama reagieren bei so Leuten.
What would Obama do in this situation? Please. Ist Trump eigentlich aktueller Präsident?
I'm dragging June into the grave with me. I dig my thumb into my palm for the first time in months. It's a technique Atlas passed on to me, one he taught himself after his parents were convicted for using their powers to rob a bank and sent to the San Diego bounds. If I press my thumb into my palm, I feel how real I am. It worked even when I was in the haze of grief from losing my parents. You would have been a great partner, I say, taking a seat. The casters weren't ready for the storm we were about to unleash on them. Nice to know someone believed in me, he says. That didn't work out in your favor. But you gave me a chance. Email, Prudencia Ma, and the others didn't. Maybe not, but love gets in the way. I'm not sure how much they love me, Brayton says. I said some really horrible things to Emil and Ma, and Prudencia hasn't visited me once. Prudencia cares. I see right through her act, I say. It's not my business, but Prudencia protecting her heart so Brighton can't be used against her the way Atlas was killed because of me seems pointless. Brighton is already dying. He tries to sit up. What do you mean? Spellrock thunders outside, and I rush to the window to see what's going on. There's a couple vans and 4 motorcycles blocking the entrance. I identify acolytes by their grey jumpsuits. They're battling the hospital's security guards, both sides firing spells out of their wands. It's hard to make out any faces from the 14th floor, but there's no mistaking the 6-armed girl holding her own wands, Dione. If one bloodcaster is here, the others can't be far off. What's going on? Brighton asks. Bloodcasters, I say. Go find cover. I hit the grey button that opens the shutter panel in the domed ceiling, designed to allow Celestials to accelerate their healing by sleeping under the night sky. I need to get outside faster, so once the clearing is open wide enough, I levitate to the edge, slide down the side of the dome, and dive off the building. Wind roars in my ears as I keep my hands to my sides and I must look like a missile. When I'm near the ground, I activate my power, thrust backward a few feet, and glide down in a circle. Gott, das klingt so dumm.
Ja.
So voll schnell und dann so langsam und dann so im Kreis, so langsam runter. I drop into the parking lot, and when my psychic sense signals that there's danger, I dive behind the car, catching myself in the air so I don't slam on the concrete. More spells are being shot into the car, and I move away before it can explode and take me with it. The front doors open and Iris and Wesley run out alongside 3 more security guards. Even though it's clear that the acolytes are directly across from them, they keep looking around. Iris points. Eva and Ruth are here, and they're helping Carolina out of a green van. None of them have the offensive powers needed to take on the acolytes. Iris yells at them to stay inside the car, but they don't seem to hear her. She runs across the path as spells crash into her, simply slowing her down until Dione charges across the lot and tackles her. Acolytes fire spells at the green van as it begins to drive my way. Grüner Van? I guess. Naja, solange es nicht so Porsche aussieht. Also. Ruth is in the driver's seat, but another Ruth is also still helping Eva and Carolina. What? It's unclear which one. Ach so, okay. It's unclear which one is the clone until the one on foot vanishes in a purple glow. 4 acolytes hop on their motorcycles and chase after the van. I knock down one acolyte with a fire arrow before he gets too far, but everyone else vanishes from sight as they go out of the exit. Wind blasts past me. It's Wesley chasing after them to protect his girlfriend, maybe even their daughter if Ruth brought Esther along. I run for Atlas's car, knowing my skin can't resist the spells like Iris's can. I grab my powerproof vest from the front seat and put it on, quickly like my parents trained me, and I grab the Oblivion dagger. I jump and glide into the battle, hurling fire arrows at the acolytes. I land behind Dion, and before she can hammer Iris with her sixth fist, I slice her back with the dagger. Dion screams, whirls around, and punches me 4 times. Spit flies out of my mouth, and she snatches the dagger from me. Wow. Partie.
Krass.
Dion hooks one arm around my head, flips me over her shoulder, and slams me on my back. She hovers over me, pinning down my arms with two of hers and twirling the Oblivion dagger with another. I try kicking at her head, but a fourth arm catches my foot. She drives the dagger down towards my throat, but Iris's hand slides underneath, and the bone blade goes through her palm, her glistening blood spilling onto me. Iris punches Dion in the face with her other hand, and I can hear bones cracking as Dion flies backward. Iris bites down on her lip as she slowly pulls the Oblivion dagger out of her hand, the bone clattering as she drops it to the ground. We take cover behind a pillar. Iris, examining the blood gushing out of the hole in her hand, reminds me of when we were children in the park and she jumped on my back so she could experience what it was like to levitate. We ran toward the edge of the staircase and I carried us into the air, but I couldn't hold her for very long. We fell and she landed on a pile of broken glass that pierced her skin. At least Iris isn't crying this time. Fly after Eva. She's with Carolina, Ruth, and Esther. Ruth drove off, I say. We peek around the pillar to see Eva and Carolina being pursued by acolytes. We have to get them, Iris says, taking off at a sprint. But that's when I see June standing by the driveway entrance sign and she's staring at me. I grab the dagger and go straight for June, ignoring Iris shouting for me to help her because she's not in charge of me. I don't owe her just because the dagger was driven through her hand for me. If she hadn't kept my true lineage a secret from me, I would have understood my powers better and saved our parents and Atlas. Iris will rescue Eva and have her hand healed. I have to kill June while she's stupid enough to show her face. I glide after June as she takes off running through the bushes and heads downhill. June darts into the street and has to face through an oncoming car, through, though it's too late for the driver, who swerves to miss her and crashes into another car. June stands in the center of her chaos as the other car's honking masks the sound of spellwork back at the hospital. I drop down onto the street, swinging, swinging the dagger. June fades out and kicks me from behind, and I crash into the hood of a car. Then my psychic sense goes into overload as she keeps reappearing around and attacking me. Punch to my back, elbow to my neck, kick to my ribs. She punches my shoulder from behind so hard that I think she is dislocated it, and I don't have Atlas around to pop it back in. My eyes flutter from dizziness as she slams my face against the hood. She tries to wrestle the dagger away from me, and my arm is too busted to keep a tight grip. Dark yellow flames burst from my fist and burn her hands. Is this why she and the Bloodcasters came back? For the dagger? Or did they hunt us down to get revenge for their creator? I don't know if June even has enough humanity in her to care for Luna like a mother, but I hope she was forced to watch Luna choke to death on her own blood. I cast a stream of fire at June, obscuring her vision as I levitate about 10 feet high, and when she walks through my flames, expecting to find me still on the ground, I hurl the dagger down at her with my good arm. June sees me just in time, and the dagger phases through her, clattering against the ground. She's untouchable. June slowly turns to her shoulder, eyeing it curiously. Gray and red blood drips down her solid body. The Oblivion dagger can harm her when she's incorporeal. We both learn this at the same time. I drop down, grab and throw the dagger again, but June vanishes through the ground this time. I wait for her to pop back up, but she doesn't. The gray and red blood on the bone dagger is the most promising sight I've seen in days. There's a crack in June's armor, and I'm going to break her apart.
Dum dum dum.
Dum, dum, dum. Schaffen wir das noch?
Ja, let's go.
Let's go.
10, Poison, Brighton. There haven't been a lot of times that I've missed being that ordinary Brighton who was college bound about a month ago. But I would give a lot right now to be healthy in some dorm room watching a TV show with some roommate I low-key hate. Instead, I'm staring out the window in the hospital as a battle unfolds and I think someone may be coming to kill me before I can die of unnatural causes. Wow. Du bist die ganze Zeit so, wow, I wish ich had powers. Ich wäre ja so krass. Und jetzt kommt so alles auf dich hereingebrochen, was alle anderen mit den Powers schon seit Jahren so durchmachen und du denkst dir, I wish, es wäre nicht so.
Vor allem so, ich bin nicht selfish. Aber die sind hier wegen mir.
Ja. An alarm blares and against every practitioner's instructions I run. I've just made it to the door when I crash so hard into Emil that we collapse on top of each other. Oha, romantisch. He groans and I rub my forehead.
They're not blood related, right?
We got to go, Emil says as we help each other up. You think? I've got nothing on but the hospital garb. There's no time to even put on the socks Emil took off me when I got too hot, or grab my sneakers in case we make it outside. My body is aching, but Emil drags me down the hall. Overhead lights are flashing yellow and orange.
Also hat jetzt Brighton so ein Ding an, wo sein Hintern gezeigt wird.
So stelle ich mir das vor. I mean, okay, vielleicht ist das in Infinity Reaper Welt, in Infinity Cycle Welten ein bisschen anders. Vielleicht ist es einfach nicht offen hinten, aber es wäre dumm.
Vielleicht ist es hinten einfach auch ordentlich zugemacht mit einer Schnur oder so.
Ja. Overhead lights are flashing yellow and orange, which I know is an emergency signal from this zombie horror movie that took place in an abandoned Gleam Care facility. Wow.
Alter.
Where's Prudencia? I ask. I don't know, Emil says. We've just reached the end of the hall when Dr. Bowers calls our names from behind. She abandons her high heels and catches up to us. Let's get you somewhere safe until security can handle the threat. They are bloodcasters. Your guards are going to get ripped apart, I say. The bang of a spell shocks us all, and Dr. Bowers pulls us out of harm's way. The poster behind us is set on fire. I turn to find 3 acolytes armed with wands. I hate every Celestial who has donated their blood to power all of these so-called defensive weapons, as if it's not easy for dangerous people to get their hands on them too. Sagen wir mal so. Ist man sich sicher, dass das alles gespendet wurde?
Ja, gespendet.
Also, so wie sich das anhört, kann es einfach sein, dass die alle, I don't know, irgendwo eingesperrt sind.
Wurde es nicht am Anfang nur so gesagt?
Weiß ich
dass
nicht
die
mehr.
Sind?
Aber oder vielleicht kriegen die Geld dafür und haben es halt nötig, weil sie nun mal kein so gutes Leben haben, wie du denkst, Brian.
Ja.
Ja.
Aber dann muss man aber auch drüber nachdenken, ist eigentlich ganz cool, I guess, dass es so. Die haben ja alle ihre Fähigkeiten so individuell, aber diese Kraft ist so allgemein.
Ja.
I don't know, man könnte ja so Geräte machen, die das vielleicht umwandeln oder so ein Zeug. Who knows?
Yes. I don't know. These acolytes don't care about using the power of others if that's what it takes to become specters and have their own powers one day. But if Luna is dead, why are they bothering? Are they serving a new leader? Dr. Bowers opens the stairway door and Emil and I go down as quickly as we can, fighting past our pain. 11th floor, Dr. Bowers says, following us. Spells rain down on us and as the acolytes catch up. Emil swings open the door and Dr. Bowers pauses before closing it behind her. Her eyes glow with twinned crescent moons as she holds out her hands, swinging them in dips and curves like a pendulum. Suddenly, there are projections of the 3 of us soundlessly continuing down the stairs. The illusion will only make it down a floor or 2 before they vanish, but that should be long enough to protect 2 heroes, Dr. Bowers says with beaming pride. It sounds like Dr. Bowers isn't strong enough to cast the grand illusions that masked us from the public eye in Nova, but this stage trick saved our lives. She leads us to a laboratory and swipes us in with her key card. She turns off the lights so we can hide. It's pitch black until Emil creates a little bulb of fire, wincing in pain as he guides us behind a counter that's littered with vials and magnifying glasses and documents. He presses his palm against the wound on his side. The Infinity Ender affected his power when Ness sliced him the first time, but it's going to hurt even more after being stabbed by Luna. Once we're all situated, Emil closes his hand and the fire goes out. The lab is nothing but heavy breathing in darkness.
Jetzt, wo ich darüber nachdenke, aber könnte dann Brighton nicht trotzdem noch mit dem Infinity Ender angegriffen werden?
Wie?
Weil ich dachte, die Hauptsache war so, dass er sicher davor ist, weil er ein Geist ist, weil er dann so nicht angegriffen werden kann, generell.
Ja.
Aber ist ja jetzt doch nicht so.
Es war jetzt der Oblivion Dagger und nicht der andere.
Achso,
aber
was?
An sich ist das ja eine neue Erkenntnis für einige. Also wahrscheinlich wusste das Luna auch nicht. Also in der Theorie.
I guess, maybe, ja.
Aber ich meine, wenn du das weißt, kannst du ja auch so wie June einfach durch den Boden verschwinden und nicht dich einfach nur dingsen. Like, einfach flupp runter. Fertig.
Ja.
Maybe I should help, Emil whispers. They're here for us. They're here for me. I'm the one who killed Luna. Wow, brave. Wow. I should be brave and turn myself in so the other patients don't get hurt. Even though I already know I'm dying, I don't have it in me. My time is running out, and I want as much of it as possible. Selfish. The stars didn't give me the powers I wanted to protect the people, so everyone can be their own hero. There's a bang outside the door. 2 bangs, 3 bangs, 4 bangs. Have the acolytes found us? Something smashes outside. The door opens and hallway lights spill into the entrance for a moment before closing again. There are light footsteps roaming the room. Tsk, tsk. Tsk, tsk, a man says with a slight hiss. I pointlessly mouth Stanton's name to Emil, but he should recognize the voice of a spectre with basilisk blood too. Terror reawakens within me from being held captive by Stanton. He's so strong and vicious. He only kept me alive so he could use me to send a signal to Emil, who'd flown away with the urn containing the ghosts of Luna's parents. But that doesn't mean he went easy on me. He strangled me and beat me unconscious. I didn't hesitate to give him my password so he could upload that video for Emil on my own YouTube channel. I didn't want to risk extra torture. Now he's found me again, and I don't think he'll be keeping me alive this time. If I had a wand, I would blast him in the heart. If I had powers, I would set him ablaze. Concentrate and stare at my palm. I'm hoping fear will trigger my powers the way it did Emil's. But I'm still cloaked in darkness without a flicker of flame appearing. Maybe, just maybe, they're behind that counter. Stanton teases. Emil pins me against the counter. He obviously knows we're here, I whisper. Why am I even whispering? I ask out loud and stand. You found us. I can't make him out in the shadows. You can go ahead and turn on the lights. What's wrong? Can see in the dark or sense your prey's heartbeat, their scent. I bet you're wishing Luna needed basilisk blood for the powers you stole from her, Stanton says from the far right corner of the room. I didn't get any powers. It was all a bust. Luna will be happy to hear that, Stanton's voice says from the other corner. She's alive? Hanging on there after some scum hit her with a cheap shot. She told me I shouldn't have missed in the graveyard. I was honoring her wishes. I'm trying to sound braver than I am, but I'm so nervous. Dr. Bau's shaking against the counter isn't helping. Our greatest defense is Emil, and he's not at full power. But Stanton is moving soundlessly, and we can't try to beat someone we can't even see. Some light, I tell Emil. Emil casts fire and illuminates Stanton's face right in front of us. Oh mein Gott, das ist gruselig. Uff. Hello, Stanton says. He grabs Emil by the throat and swings him into a glass cabinet that shatters so loudly it's like someone shot a spell through it. It's pitch black again without Emil's firelight. I don't even hear him groaning. I got to fight my way to him. I scramble for something heavy to try and defend myself. I can hear Dr. Bowes running off toward Emil. She screams, and I realize she's probably stepped in glass. Then Stanton's nails dig into my shoulders, and I'm hurled into the shadows. I can't even try to brace myself, since I have no idea when I might collide with something. I bang against the wall and crash onto a cart with loaded vials. The breath is knocked out of me, and I'm wheezing hard. Shards of glass dig into my arms, and thick liquids spill onto my hair like the stickiest shampoo. Sharp pain runs through my back and elbows. I'm dizzy and in this darkness, and I roll onto my stomach. Stanton presses his boot down on my neck. There are so many ways to kill you before I bring Luna your head. Petrification, poison. I've always been curious about reaching into someone's chest while they're petrified and ripping out their heart to see how much pain they feel. He's a basilisk that plays with his food. His only motivation is blood. I can petrify you and make you watch as I torture your brother. He presses down harder on my neck. Or I can end you right now. The door opens, revealing a silhouette with glowing eyes. The lights come on as Stanton's foot rises, and before he can slam it down on me, Prudencia telekinetically catches it. She's struggling to suspend him. Her power isn't as strong without the Crown Dreamer. I roll a few inches, enough for Prudencia to release her hold. Stanton's foot slams against the floor like a heavy step. Stanton laughs. You're not strong enough to stop me. Prudencia telekinetically throws various instruments and shards of glass at him. His skin is getting cut up, and still he's smiling with his terrible teeth. Dr. Bowes rises, and 8 illusions pop up. 2 Brightons, 2 Emils, 2 Prudencias und 2 Dr. Bowes. Bowser.
Das wird nicht funktionieren, weil er die
Riecht.
Herzen spürt oder so.
Ja, das auch. They're running around Stanton, and he swipes at them, going through them like air. Then Stanton closes his eyes for a moment, spins, and lunges straight at the real Dr. Bowes, snapping her neck. The illusions vanish before her body can hit the floor. Her death isn't that shocking. She's the first of 4 in this room. Before I'm added to the count, I gather all my strength and grab a shard of glass, then jump onto Stanton's shoulders and stab him in the chest. He's trying to shake me off, but I keep digging and digging, even though the glass is cutting into me. He wants to grab me, but Prudencia is binding his hands. Stanton bites my hand, and his teeth sharpen, extending into fangs like a real basilisk that puncture straight through my palm. Ow! It's the greatest pain I've felt since the Reaper's blood warped against me. Fire feels like it's shooting through my veins, so hot that it wants to melt my bones. I fall off him. My hand is bleeding. Prudencia keeps Stanton fixed in place before he can charge at her. Gold and grey flames light up the corner. Emil, sprawled out on the floor, is carrying a glowing orb, although it appears he's too weak to throw it. Prudencia releases her hold on Stanton, and He is so close to reaching her when she telekinetically pulls Emil's fire orb as if she's tugging a rope, and it strikes Stanton in the back. She dives out of the way, and Stanton slams headfirst into the wall and collapses still. Alter, richtiges Teamwork. Richtig epic.
Yeah, imagine.
You okay? Prudencia asks me as she gets up. I can't even speak. My bloody hand is shaking uncontrollably, and the fire within is pulsing. No better time to be in a hospital, but seeing Dr. Bows's head angled so unnaturally reminds me of how mortal we all are. How mortal I wouldn't have been without the Reaper's blood. Prudencia...
With the Reaper's
powers. Yeah, with the Reaper's powers. Prudencia assists Emil as he tries getting up by himself. He's groaning as his power automatically heals the glass cuts across his face and arms. Whoa! Marable appears, stepping over Stanton while pressing her fist against her shoulder. You've been busy. So has she, judging by the blood on her face and the fresh coat of grey and red blood on her Oblivion Dagger. June must be dead. Warum denkt ihr immer alle direkt, dass irgendjemand tot ist? In dieser Welt ist nie irgendjemand tot, okay? Außer Arevlis.
Außer Arevlis.
Stanton killed Dr. Bowes, Prudencia says, unable to look at her corpse. I groan in pain and Marable crouches beside me, her eyes immediately going to the bite mark on my hand. Everything is getting blurry and I'm suddenly cold. That's basilisk venom. We need an antidote, Marable says. What's going to happen to me? I ask. It can kill you within days, she says.
Das war so schwach.
Ja.
Was? Andere sind so, 3 Sekunden, du bist tot.
Ja. My life sentence keeps shrinking. Find an antidote. Prudencia frantically checks the cabinets and Emil tries to help, but he's too slow and weak. We're in a hospital that specializes in gleam injuries. Finding an antidote really shouldn't be that hard. Iris barges in, at first surprised to see Stanton on the floor, but then she steps on him as she makes her way over to Marable, holding her bloodied hand on her chest. Where did you go? I had to get June, Marable says, still searching for an antidote. I hope to the highest stars you killed her because the Yon bested me. You lost a fight, get over it, Marable says. I lost more than a fight. The Acolytes captured Eva in Carolina and got away. Emil and I turn to each other at the same time, like a person on and their reflection, wondering what this means for our mother especially. Then my hand fully tensens, so rigid that I can't even twitch my fingers. It's like thick clay is drying all over me. My veins are shifting to a dark green, the venom slithering up my arm and going straight for my heart. Alter, slithering, sehr gutes Wort dafür.
Slytherin.
Slithering.
Ja. Na gut, dann hoffe ich, ihr hattet Spaß. Oder es war sehr interessant. War jedenfalls sehr actionreich.
Das war.
Jetzt zum Ende vor allem auch also sehr viel hin und her und hui. Luna ist nicht dead. Wer hat das erwartet? June ist immer noch nicht weg. Brighton ist noch mehr am Sterben als vorher.
Ja.
Ma, maybe auch, who knows?
Ja.
Eva war die Heilerin? Oder?
Ja.
Ja, Eva ist gone.
Basically die wichtigste in der Gruppe, aber okay.
Ja, let's go. Und I guess, I don't know, die Tochter von Wesley. Ich kennen die Kinder nicht irgendwo. Ich meine, okay, ja, I guess die muss da irgendwie mitkommen, aber schon eine Kackzeit, um ein Kind zu haben.
Das sowieso.
Na gut, dann hören wir uns alle wieder beim nächsten Mal.
Gegenseitig, dies, das.
wenn es wieder heißt,
Super
Super
Seegurke
Seku,
Buchclub.
genau, Infinity Reaper von Adam Silvera. Kapitel 11, Reunion mit Nas.
Der
Reunion mit
einzige
wem?
gute Charakter. Spaß.
Nicht?
Ja, Emil ist ja auch okay.
Hey, und
Hannes!
oh, Prudence, who knows? Okay.
Na dann.
Tschüss.